I'm John Sinkevics, editor and publisher of the localspins.com website. It's a website that covers West Michigan's music scene. We do stories and features on bands, concert reviews, album reviews, podcasts, videos, you name it, in our attempt to sort of showcase what's happening here in West Michigan.
Today's episode is brought to you by the consistent content creators at DW Video. To learn more, go to dwvideo.com.
I was literally 6 years old when I fell in love with the Beatles, and literally it sort of changed my life in the sense that music became part of everything I did pretty much every day. I learned how to play piano, took piano lessons for 8 years. My mom forced me to take them. I hated piano lessons at the time, and lo and behold, when I quit piano lessons is when I never stopped playing piano. That's what my mom still says to this day. And it was because I learned that I could play rock and roll and I could play music with my friends. And it became an inspirational thing as well. And I could write songs, and pretty much it became very much a focus of everything I did. So, when I got to college, my first writing job, I majored in journalism at the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor. And my first writing job, freelance job, was writing album reviews for a small monthly newspaper. They asked me to do it. I don't know how they knew. I can't even remember all the ins and outs of it, but I started writing album reviews and realized that it was something that I really enjoyed doing. I was on the campus radio station all 4 years. I really enjoyed that whole being on the air, being able to choose and select and curate a show. And when I graduated with a journalism degree, though, I was a hard news guy all the way. And but always in the back of my mind, I was always doing a little bit of dabbling, obviously, in terms of writing about music. I started the album reviews section at the Grand Rapids Press, even when I was covering the environment and doing some other things. And I had a band, the Honeytones, and started that band more than 30 years ago with a friend of mine from the Grand Rapids Press who I still hang out with all the time, Charlie Honey, and we still play out whenever we can. And so clearly music was a pretty central part of everything I was doing. I was writing songs. I was pretty serious about that part of it. But what happened was you sort of get burned out being a journalist. I mean, there's certain things that after you've been on a beat for a while, it becomes kind of this plodding thing and a difficult thing to continue day after day. And I had the fortune, the Grand Rapids Press was starting a weekend section, and they were really focused on entertainment and music. And they asked me to fill in for 6 months. They said, well, we need to start this section. You've been writing I filled in for a while as an entertainment writer and doing some concerts and doing some album reviews, that kind of thing. And I said, sure, I'll do this. And I never left. It was something that really resonated with me. It was the perfect time in my career for me to make a switch, do something different, write about features, be a music critic, which I'd never done before, in the sense that you go to a concert and actually tell people what you think about an artist, that kind of thing. So that was a little bit of an adjustment in terms of the way you write, how you approach people. But I realized that this was something that I was really passionate about. It just fell right into my, right where I wanted to be at the time. Survived a few layoffs, a couple of buyouts, that kind of thing, and eventually they tapped me on the shoulder, and I was part of a big group of layoffs that occurred on a Black Friday, so to speak. And I took advantage of that situation to say, look, at that time I could see that the music scene here in Grand Rapids and West Michigan was really starting to explode. I mean, I could just see that there were a lot of talented bands here, and no one else was covering this stuff. I mean, literally, it was so hit and miss in terms of the major mainstream publications anywhere in West Michigan, whether it's Kalamazoo, Grand Rapids, or up north. They really did not have that focus because a lot of this was being lost, music critics in general. When I got laid off, I said I kind of jumped off a cliff. My wife and I talked about it. I think she thought I was nuts at the time, as I think other people probably did. You can't make money on a website or whatever. You have people that just aren't sure. And I wasn't sure myself. I really didn't know how it was going to go. But I did know that I could do this, that I could write, and I was an editor. I had that. I had to learn all the other skills that go about it. It's not the same as being a reporter where somebody hands you an assignment. You write the story, somebody else takes care of it. Now, I'm the editor, I'm the publisher, I have to be the marketing manager, I have to be the advertising sales guy. You become everything. Your toolkit becomes, you have to use everything in your toolkit to learn and relearn what's happening. Even the technical part of just running a website and getting things online and learning how to do the videos and the photos and trying to figure out how to incorporate all that into a new format, something brand new that I created, and something that people would actually read or follow. It ended up being a huge undertaking, but I could tell that within 6 months to a year, I mean, after selling, it was kind of funny. I didn't even know how to put ads on the site initially, how I was going to make money at this. And when I finally figured that out, I realized that, there are people that want to advertise. There are people that want to support what I'm doing. I knew a lot of the people in the business already, had a lot of contacts at the venues. A lot of the musicians already knew who I was, which is one reason why I wanted to keep doing this. I didn't want to change my career and do something else. And it became pretty clear pretty quickly that there's a way to do this, and if people support what you do, within a couple of years I realized I can make a living at this. It's a lot of work. I mean, I'm putting in more hours, 70, 80 hours a week, depending on the time of year, and more hours than I ever put in, even as a hardworking reporter. I want to draw attention to what's happening in Grand Rapids. I want to draw attention to what's happening in Kalamazoo and Traverse City, because these bands are working very hard too, and there aren't a whole lot of outlets for them to showcase what's happening and for them to people to hear their music or to read more about what they're doing next. And if I can do that in some small way, then I think I feel like I've accomplished something, in the sense that at least I've shed a spotlight on this talent that we have here in this state. I figured out that the website is really just sort of the middle. It's sort of the hub, all the spokes that go out around it. I host a concert series at Speakeasy Lounge. They asked me to get involved and start curating this and to book the bands, and that gave me an opportunity to sort of say, hey, I can bring you into this relatively intimate venue in downtown Grand Rapids, and people are going to find out about you that you might not have known about you before. And every Wednesday night, which is kind of cool because it's in the middle of the week and it's not necessarily a busy, Friday, Saturday, weekend kind of thing where there are a lot of other competing shows going on, you get a chance to see, a really rising star perhaps, or maybe even an established act from, Kalamazoo or Grand Rapids playing here, and a chance to sort of interact with the audience. I tell the artists, you can do something different on a Wednesday night because you get a chance to sort of collaborate maybe with someone you haven't collaborated with before, maybe try out a new song. And it's really been a wonderful way to tie into what's happening with the website. And then I got a couple of radio shows. I'm fortunate enough to have this Local Spins on WYC radio show at 11 a.m. on Fridays on WYC, which is all about showcasing an eclectic blend of music here. It's a community radio station, a lot of volunteer programmers, and they asked me to be part of this because they knew I knew the scene, and it's been great. I get to debut new songs by, artists from Grand Rapids and elsewhere across the state every week. It's amazing the flood of new material that comes in from every genre you can imagine. And I'm talking, hip hop and rock and soul and pop and this electronic music that's really exploded in the last couple of years. It's just so much fun every week for me to even just sort of have a chance to sort of give people that radio still can be important, and they'll still get really excited about hearing their song on the radio for the first time. I mean, there's nothing like that. It's still a magical thing, even though it seems kind of old school now with Spotify and some of the other competing media. But it gives me a chance to sort of, hey, you're on the air. This is an artist I think you should be listening to. And then I also have been asked by Michigan Radio. I do a monthly segment for Michigan Radio where I get to talk about West Michigan bands. All of this sort of feeds in to what I'm doing as a local spins publisher, a lot more than what it was just being a newspaper writer, and getting a chance. And I also do a series with River City Studios where we bring people in for a little bit longer, performance and interview sessions, and we stream it live on Facebook, and we're trying to use some of the social media to sort of spread the word too.
And that's kind of where my basement sessions wants to go, not maybe in the huge realm, but I want to dive into the people.
Sure.
I want to peel the layers away and say, yeah, I want to get to know the musicians.
Yeah.
And oh, by the way, we're going to jam. Whether it's at their venue,
right,
wherever it might be. I might even bring some of them into my basement. I mean, it's intimate, it's small, but it's another venue.
Sure.
As you've been, evolving this, it sounds like you got an open mind to, because things are changing so quickly. And do you sometimes find it hard to differentiate between critic and promoter?
I find myself I've sort of made the transition, I feel, in some ways to being an advocacy journalist, in the sense that I think it's important for us to sort of support the music scene that's happening here. So, Yes, it's probably true that there are times when you have to put on that reporter hat and be, when news happens, and it does happen. Bands break up, venues close, things happen that maybe have a more negative slant maybe than usual. But for the most part, what we're doing is sort of celebrating what's happening here and giving artists and bands that otherwise might not be able to get their word out about what they're doing, giving them an avenue to do that.
At My Basement Sessions, we want to get to know the people behind the music, check out the venues, and go where music is happening all over the state. Do you love music? Then subscribe to our channel and follow us on our other social media sites. Want to be a sponsor? Contact Dwayne today.